Most vegetable gardens die every year because people grow the wrong vegetables. Several forgotten crops come back on their own and feed families for years. Some spread underground, others crawl along the soil, and others bear fruit for decades. One spring bed can produce a harvest long after the regular crops have disappeared. Another plant hides poison in its leaves and still became a staple food for generations. One root fed entire crops because it survived where other foods simply died. Another greenery grows like a small tree and continues to bear fruit with the arrival of cold weather. These are not gardening myths because botanists, farmers, and food traditions back them up. The deeper the list goes, the stranger and more powerful these plants become. By the end, the viewer will see how a vegetable garden can become a permanent food system. The earthen pear, also called Jerusalem artichoke, looks like a regular sunflower. Tall stems with yellow flowers grow above the ground, but the real wealth is hidden in the soil. Clusters of gnarled tubers with a nutty flavor form beneath each plant. Genetic research in 2014 linked this plant to the perennial sunflowers of eastern central North America. Indigenous peoples domesticated it long before the arrival of Europeans. Today, Jerusalem artichoke is sold as a trendy superfood, although it grows like a weed. The tubers contain inulin instead of starch, which makes them beneficial for digestion, but may cause discomfort in some people. The plant is so tenacious that one tuber forgotten in the ground will turn into a whole colony. Plant once, and in a year, you will reap 3 times more harvest. Jerusalem artichoke tolerates drought, poor soil, and complete neglect from the gardener. Each autumn, dig up as much as you need and leave the remaining tubers to overwinter in the ground. In the spring, they will germinate on their own and create even more plants. Horseradish has been grown for more than 3,000 years, and during this time, the plant has learned to be practically indestructible. The University of Minnesota confirms its status as a hardy European perennial. Even the smallest piece of root left in the soil will grow into a full-fledged plant. This durability turns a potential problem into an advantage for the smart gardener. What frustrates those who want to get rid of horseradish becomes a guarantee of a constant harvest. Root fragments act as natural insurance. Your garden bed will never be empty. The plant laughs at frost, ignores pests, and thrives even in partial shade. The pungent, fiery taste of the root awakens any dish and contains natural antibiotics. Plant horseradish in the far corner of the plot and forget about it for a year. When it's time to harvest, dig up as many roots as you need, but be sure to leave a few in the ground. This is your secret to an endless supply of fiery seasoning that will survive any vagaries of weather and time. Sweet potatoes provide the gardener with triple the benefits of one plant: edible roots, nutritious greens, and living mulch. The heart-shaped leaves crawl along the ground in a beautiful green carpet, protecting the soil from heat and erosion. However, the young leaves and shoots are completely edible, sweet, and tender after cooking. In frost-free regions, sweet potatoes behave like true perennials, returning each season. In colder climates, leaving a few small tubers or cuttings in the ground is sufficient. With the arrival of warmth, the plant will wake up and begin a new growth cycle. Sweet potato vines love sun and loose soil, but do not require constant care. The more space you give the plant, the more generously it will reward you with a harvest. One planting can cover several square meters with a living carpet of foliage and vines. Combination with legumes or corn creates a natural shading and moisture retention system. Sweet potatoes work as a natural soil conditioner, giving you a harvest of roots and greens without any extra effort. Asparagus requires patience, but repays the debt with interest over 15 to 20 years. The University of Iowa confirms that a properly planted bed can bear fruit for 2 decades without replanting. This is a vegetable for those who think strategically and are willing to wait. The first year you wait, the second you see the first signs of future abundance. By the 3rd season, tender green shoots as thick as your finger can be cut back every few days. Every spring turns into payday. Asparagus breaks through the ground, ready to hit your table. Once established, the deep root system copes with drought and heat without the help of a gardener. The plant loves sun and well-drained soil, but will forgive even periods of neglect. The only requirement is to harvest regularly while the shoots are young. Adding compost or seaweed in early spring doubles the yield and keeps the shoots thick and juicy. One handful of fertilizer each season will pay for baskets of fresh asparagus for decades. Rhubarb looks like a tropical jungle plant. The huge green leaves and thick red petioles make for an impressive sight. However, behind this beauty lies a dangerous secret. The leaves contain high concentrations of oxalic acid and are toxic to humans. Only the fleshy petioles are edible. This duality makes rhubarb especially memorable. One part of the plant nourishes, the other can harm. The Extension Service continually warns gardeners about this difference. Generations of housewives knew this secret and used only the stems for pies and jam. Once planted, rhubarb returns every spring for a decade or more, pushing through the soil with powerful red shoots. The sour, tart petioles are rich in vitamins and are ideal for desserts and sauces. The plant thrives with minimal care. Planting near onions or garlic naturally repels leaf beetles and aphids. This combination protects the crop and enhances flavor without chemicals. Beauty, danger, and benefit are combined in one unpretentious plant. Tree cabbage grows as a shrub up to 2 meters high and produces new leaves all year round. The University of California master gardeners describe it as a perennial form of cabbage that can be grown on supports. Unlike regular cabbage, this plant can live for years. The leaves are softer and less bitter than regular kale, with an earthy flavor. Fresh greens can be harvested every few weeks, even when other leafy vegetables are wilting from the cold. Regular pruning stimulates the growth of new shoots and maintains the shape of the plant. Tree cabbage quickly grows into a hedge or natural fence that simultaneously feeds the family. The plant looks almost decorative, tall, evergreen, with large carved leaves. This is a solution for those who want to combine the beauty of the site with practical benefits. Planting near basil or marigolds repel cabbage moths and attract pollinators. This combination creates a self-sustaining ecosystem that operates without your intervention for years on end. The Egyptian walking onion got its name for its amazing ability to independently spread throughout the area. At the tops of the stems, small aerial bulbs are formed, which, under their own weight, tilt the stem towards the ground. As soon as these bulbs touch the soil, they take root and give birth to a new plant. This process looks like a slow dance. The plant literally walks around the garden, creating new colonies. Plant once, and in a few years, the walking onion will spread throughout the entire area without your participation. Every part of the plant is edible. The underground bulbs, the green stems, and the aerial bulbs above. The plant tolerates heat and frost, drought and excess moisture equally well. The flavor is mild and oniony, without the harshness of regular onions. Egyptian onions produce greens even in winter under the snow, providing fresh vitamins during the coldest time of the year. Neighborhood with carrots or beets protects root vegetables from root flies and beet flies. A simple way to protect two crops at the same time and create a natural system of plant mutual aid. Malabar spinach climbs posts, fences, and other plants, creating a lush, edible curtain. The University of Florida classifies it as a tropical, heat-tolerant spinach, high in phenolics and vitamins A and C. This climber continues to grow when regular spinach has succumbed to the summer heat. Glossy green leaves spiral up the supports, turning vertical surfaces into living walls of nutrition. The plant independently scatters seeds and renews itself after each rainy season. Even frosts do not kill it completely. With the return of warmth, the vines begin to climb up again. The leaves are thick and slightly slimy, ideal for soups and stews, where this texture turns into an advantage. Small purple flowers add color to garden walls and attract bees. The more you cut, the more new greenery grows. Growing next to beans or peppers creates natural shade and retains moisture for both crops. Less watering, more harvest. This is how smart gardening works in hot climates. Chayote, known in Louisiana as mirliton, arrived there via Haiti in the 19th century and became part of Creole cuisine. The Louisiana Agricultural Extension Service emphasizes that this vigorous vine can grow back from its roots where winters permit. One plant can cover an entire gazebo or fence with green pear fruits. Each fruit is crispy, juicy, and tastes like a mixture of cucumber and apple. During the season, one vine produces hundreds of such fruits, hanging like green lanterns. Young shoots and leaves are also edible, tender and tasty when fried. The root system remains alive underground, sending out new vines every spring. The plant loves the sun, tolerates poor soil, and the more you harvest, the more actively it bears fruit. It is a living family legacy that is passed on across borders and generations. Growing next to corn or sunflowers gives the vine natural support to grow on. This combination saves space and turns the garden into a multi-layered food system, with each plant supporting the other. Okinawa spinach is striking in its contrasting colors. Dark green leaves on top and deep purple leaves below create a picturesque spectacle. The University of Florida describes it as a heat-tolerant ground cover that grows year-round in warm regions. This perennial spreads in a soft green carpet along the edges of the beds. The plant comes from a family of tropical leafy vegetables associated with food traditions in hot climates. The leaves have a slightly tart flavor and are rich in antioxidants, especially anthocyanins, which give the undersides their purple color. Young leaves are added to salads. Mature leaves are used for soups and stir-fries. Okinawan spinach thrives in partial shade and moderate humidity, filling spaces where other vegetables struggle. It does not require frequent watering and can withstand periods of drought. The plant creates a decorative edible design for the site. Neighborhood with lemongrass or ginger repels pests and improves the aroma of the soil in a natural way. This combination turns the garden into a place that pleases the eye, smell, and taste at the same time. Moringa grows at a rate of more than 3 meters per season, and every part of it is beneficial. Leaves, pods, and even seeds. Research indexed by the National Institutes of Health shows that moringa leaves are rich in nutrients and are being studied in the context of combating malnutrition. This tree grows where other crops cannot survive. The LiverTox database notes that short-term studies show modest effects on blood sugar and cholesterol, although evidence remains limited. The leaves taste like matcha spinach mix and are rich in protein and iron. In arid regions, moringa has become a symbol of food security. Once rooted, the tree is practically indestructible. It tolerates drought, poor soil, and extreme heat. The more often you prune the branches, the more actively new shoots with young leaves grow. Every week, you can collect fresh greens, as if from a natural conveyor belt of vitamins. Planting next to lemongrass or basil repels leaf miners and mosquitoes, keeping your mini-food forest healthy. These aromas together create an atmosphere of tropical abundance in the garden. Rosella was once widely used in Florida under the name Florida cranberry, according to the University of Florida. The red sepals are still used in drinks, jams, and teas in Caribbean traditions. This plant represents a forgotten regional food memory of the United States that is worth reviving. Dark red stems, green leaves, and bright scarlet sepals make Rosella a vibrant addition to the garden. The leaves have a sour, lemony flavor, ideal for soups and salads. After the flower wilts, the red edible structure swells to form a base for refreshing drinks. The plant easily renews itself by self-seeding, returning each season stronger than before. Rosella loves the sun, tolerates tropical heat well, and requires only well-drained soil. When it blooms, the garden is illuminated as if during a holiday. Combining with ginger or turmeric improves soil health and makes the harvest even more flavorful. This natural blend of spices, color, and nutrients works without chemical additives. Brazilian spinach differs from other tropical spinach in its texture and shade tolerance. The University of Florida describes it as a heat-tolerant ground cover with thick, slightly crunchy leaves. This is a solution for gardeners who want to turn empty edges of beds and semi-shaded areas into food sources. The plant spreads gently along the ground, forming a dense edible carpet that suppresses weeds and retains moisture. The leaves remain tender even in hot weather and hold their shape well when cooked. Unlike regular spinach, Brazilian spinach does not become bitter or wilt due to high temperatures. Once rooted, it requires virtually no maintenance, spreading independently throughout the available space. Regular collection of leaves stimulates the appearance of new shoots. This is an ideal choice for lazy gardeners who want a constant supply of greens. Neighborhood with ginger or turmeric provides mutual protection from pests and enriches the soil. The roots of these plants share nutrients well, creating a stable mini ecosystem at the edge of the site. Taro, known in Hawaii as kalo, has been a staple of the Hawaiian diet and worldview for centuries. Hawaiian educational materials explain the corm as a storage organ and emphasize the central role of kalo in organizing entire landscapes and traditions. This is not just a root vegetable, but the civilizational foundation of the Pacific Ocean. The broad, heart-shaped leaves act like solar panels, powering the thick, starchy tubers underground. The roots are rich, creamy, and slightly nutty in flavor, the perfect base for hearty dishes. Taro thrives in damp areas where most vegetables simply rot from excess water. After harvesting, small side tubers left in the soil germinate on their own the following spring. The plant transforms problematic wetlands into productive food zones. Even poor drainage becomes an advantage for growing this crop. Growing next to lemongrass or turmeric repels snails and fungi that cause root rot. Natural protection keeps roots clean and strong for long-term, chemical-free harvests. Winged beans produce four-sided pods that look like green stars, but all parts of the plant are edible. Reviews on PubMed report that mature seeds contain 29 to 37% protein or even higher depending on the source and processing. It is one of the most underrated high-protein garden crops in the tropics. The vine grows wildly, covering fences and trellises, giving the gardener new pods every few days. Pods, leaves, flowers, and even roots contain complete protein and microelements. The plant works as a complete food factory on your site. Winged beans fix nitrogen from the air, naturally enriching the soil with each passing season. The land becomes more fertile and is not depleted from growing this crop. With proper care, the plant easily renews itself by self-seeding, creating a constant cycle of harvests. Planting next to corn or moringa provides natural support for the vines and helps improve soil fertility. A living food web that takes care of itself and feeds you for years on end. Cassava fed millions of people precisely because cultures developed techniques to turn the dangerous root into a safe food. FAO sources explicitly state that cassava contains cyanogenic glycosides and must be properly processed, as inadequate processing can release toxic hydrogen cyanide. This danger did not weaken the plant, but turned it into a symbol of survival. Thick, starchy roots form underground and can remain fresh in the soil for months, patiently awaiting harvest. The plant thrives in poor soils and during dry seasons when other vegetables simply die. Even the leaves are edible after boiling and are rich in protein and vitamins. Plant stem cuttings, water occasionally, and provide sunlight. In 8 to 12 months, you will reap a full harvest of roots. Leave a few pieces in the ground, and new plants will sprout on their own next season. Simplicity that saved peoples from hunger. Interplanting with beans or corn increases soil nitrogen and helps naturally reduce weed growth. An easy way to grow more food in the same space without additional fertilizer. Arrowroot produces one of the finest and most easily digestible starches in the world, naturally gluten-free and gentle on the stomach. The plant, of South American origin, has been used for centuries as a medicinal food for people with sensitive digestions. This is the quiet opposite of showy survival crops. A plant that is remembered not for its spectacle, but for its comfort. Beneath the lush green leaves are smooth white rhizomes that reproduce independently each season. Collect the required amount, leave a few roots in the ground, and they will grow without your intervention. Arrowroot starch has excellent thickening properties for sauces and baked goods. The plant thrives in moist, shady locations, ideal for areas where other crops struggle. Arrowroot restores compacted soil by loosening it with rhizomes and allowing water and air to penetrate into the deeper layers. The land is being prepared for future plantings. Growing next to turmeric or ginger provides good moisture proximity and helps prevent root rot naturally. A calm trio that keeps the vegetable garden alive and balanced. The bamboo species Bambusa vulgaris or Dendrocalamus asper produces tender, edible shoots that return every year. The University of Florida notes the difference between the bushy species suitable for home sites and the aggressively spreading rhizomatous forms. The right choice turns a potential problem into a renewable vegetable. Once established, bamboo grows like a force of nature, its underground rhizomes spreading deep and wide, sending out new shoots season after season. The young shoots are collected while they are still tender, peeled and boiled for stir-fries, soups, and curries. Their crunchy texture and mild flavor make them popular in Asian cuisine. The plant is so productive that you may have to harvest more shoots just to control growth. A good problem for any gardener who wants consistent yields without effort. Sunlight, space, and moisture are all this natural food producer needs. Planting edible bamboo next to a banana or ginger creates mutual shading and moisture exchange. A balanced mini ecosystem keeps both plants healthy and naturally doubles the yield. The tea contains hydrocyanogenic glycosides, and the leaves and young stems should be boiled before drinking, according to the University of Florida. The plant is so productive and nutritious that generations have continued to grow it, despite the need for proper preparation. This tension makes tea the perfect ending to our list. Chaya looks like a small tree with wide, glossy leaves that shimmer in the sun. Once planted, it can live for years, growing up to 2 meters in height and producing an endless supply of edible greens. The leaves are rich in protein, calcium, iron, and vitamins, surpassing most common vegetables. The plant thrives in heat, poor soil, and even drought, and is virtually impossible to kill. Break off the stem, stick it in the ground, and get a new plant. The leaves do not wilt like regular spinach and retain their nutritional value all year round. Growing next to lemongrass or marigolds naturally repels insects and keeps the soil healthy. Tea leaves stay vibrant and pest-free all year round, ending your perennial vegetable garden on a high note. These 20 crops are not just vegetables, but long-term investments in food security, sustainability, and abundance. Each plant represents a shoot from the endless cycle of spring planting and fall loss. Your garden can transform from a seasonal project to a permanent food infrastructure. Perennial root crops like Jerusalem artichoke and cassava create underground storehouses that last for years. Perennial greens, from tree kale to chai, provide vitamins when annual crops have wilted. Self-renewing plants, such as walking onion and chayote, spread themselves, saving you time and effort. If this list has inspired you or given you an idea to experiment, please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into the secrets of practical, frugal gardening. The garden should work for you, not the other way around. Let's grow together not just plants, but a way of life that thrives naturally.